Hello, my name is Jared Morris, and this is Settled Christianity coming at you with our Father's Day special. So first off, Happy Father's Day. Obviously, if you haven't got a card for your dad, you should probably go about doing that. But I do have just a few short thoughts on Father's Day. And it's coming out of Hebrews chapter 13 and the 7th verse. It says, "Remember them which have the rule over you, who have spoken unto you the word of God, whose faith follow, considering the end of their conversation." I want to say that I really love this verse. It's one of my favorite verses. I've taught on it. I have a sermon that I might be preaching tonight on it. And the idea is that who the writer of Hebrews is telling them, look to those who have guided you, and he specifically says, considering the end of their conversation. And biblically, the word conversation really means like the life of the person. It's talking about just the actions, not just the words they said, but everything that went into their life. So he says, look to these people who've guided you, look to these people who've been a help to you in your life, and think about the end of their conversation. Think about the end of their life. And I'll say that if you're watching this, there's a good chance that you've either, there's a good chance that your dad has been very influential in your life. Either if he's passed away or if he's still around. Many people do have Christian fathers if they're Christian. Usually shows that if a man gets saved, usually his whole family will eventually come to Christ because of it. And so really what I'm encouraging you to do is today on Father's Day to take time to think about the influence that your father has had in your life, and hopefully it is a good influence. And even if it's not, look to their life and try to learn what you should and shouldn't be doing in your life from his life. Look to the conversation and the end of it. If your father has passed away, you can still look back and learn and dwell on the things that you learned from him and the things he taught you. I also want to say that this is very applicable to spiritual leaders, which, this is not talking about physical fathers per se, but really spiritual fathers who, spiritual leaders, pastors, or, men of God who helped you along your way. And, if they're still alive, you should reach out to them and, thank them and tell them that you appreciate their stand for the gospel in their life. And you should also, be thinking about the ones who are no longer with us. The men who came before, who stood for the gospel, men who died for the Bible, men maybe, in history who preached and was persecuted because of it, the apostles, the prophets, but also men in your personal life who you know and who've been a help to you. As I said, that there's a lot of people in my life who's been a blessing to me, who's helped me, and they're not world famous. It's probable that you've never heard of any of the people that I have really been helped by, the ones who've passed away. Some of them were just small town preachers who stood for what was right and preached the word of God and lived a life for Christ and died knowing that they were going to be with him in heaven. And so I encourage you today to take a little bit of time to meditate on this idea of not only the conversation, the life of your physical father, but the spiritual fathers that God has put in your life. And, really think about where you would be spiritually if they were not around. And I want to say that in my life, a lot of things would be very different in my life if my father did not get saved. When he was in his 20s, when he was a young man, there's a good chance that I would not be saved today if my father didn't get saved. And we look back that it was his father that influenced him, even though he didn't get saved as a kid. My dad did. My dad did hear a lot of preaching and eventually was saved. And my great grandfather, I'd say, my dad's grandfather, he was a big influence in my dad's life. And to think that he probably doesn't ever realize he passed away years ago. I think that he probably never realizes He probably didn't realize in his life how much influence he would have for generations to come because of what he stood for. And even though I never met him, even though he passed away before I was born, I still think about the influence that he had in my life, and I still think about the end of his conversation. And so today I just encourage you to do that. I got a few series coming up here in a few weeks I'm excited about. I think next week we're going to have another standalone episode, but then we're going to go into a series about counseling, which I'm very excited about. But with that being said, I hope you enjoyed it. Please like the video. Please subscribe. It really helps. The channel is growing a little bit, and I really am trying to increase the quality of the videos I'm putting out, increase the lessons that I'm, increasing the quality of the lessons I'm teaching. And so I hope that you kind of join me and my wife on this journey that we're going on with God. And just please subscribe, like the video, share it if you think it would be a blessing to someone, and have a good Father's Day. This has been Settled Christianity, helping you continue in the faith.